Hello and welcome to Jurassic Reviews. On this episode, we'll be taking a look at another figure by NECA. That figure is the Godzilla 2003. Before we begin, here's a look at the box it comes in, featuring the awesome posters and promotional material from Tokyo SOS, on both the front cover and on the sides. And here's the back of the box, which has some images of the figure and some information about what's going on in the film. First, let's start with the sculpt. This Godzilla stands around 7 inches tall, and is about 14 inches long from head to tail. There are a lot of things that this figure gets right, and a few things that it doesn't. It's really a mixed bag. As far as details, this thing is outstanding. All the skin textures and little spikes near its dorsal plates look great. On its chest, you can see what identifies this as the 2003 Godzilla. As you can see the scar Godzilla received from NECA Godzilla's Absolute Zero weapon. Looking at the dorsal plates, they also look great, with nice textures that are highlighted by the paint job. Interestingly, the large middle row of dorsal plates is made of a softer material, and can be bent in different directions. I honestly like this, as the chances of them breaking are lower, and they still manage to look good at the same time. The smaller outside rows of dorsal plates are more solid and also sharp, which is probably why the larger plates are made of a softer material, since these dorsal plates are really pointy. One of the areas that sort of sticks out is this area around the neck and shoulders, which is more of a rubber material. It looks a little weird, especially from behind, which makes it almost look like Godzilla has shoulder pads on. You can even lift it up a bit and bend it. This was most likely done to allow the arms to move, which is understandable, but it does look odd at certain angles. Another odd area is the feet, which just look a bit too bulky and wide to me. Moving to the tail, it's pretty awesome, just like NECA's Godzilla 1989. It's such a shame NECA is losing the Godzilla license for now, because they really have made some well-rounded figures lately. Parts like the tail in the earlier NECA Godzilla figures were always too short and kind of bad looking, but these more recent ones have all sported long tails, and it's upped the movie accuracy on them. Moving to the head is where I have some issues. For the most part, it looks okay, and there's some pretty good detail with the little spikes and scales. You can even see his pointy ears. The area where I feel is off is around the nose. For one thing, I think the nose itself is a tad too large maybe, but really the main thing, I think the whole snout should be angled downwards more, sort of like the bottom jaw. There might be a few other things going on to make it look a little off, but just by looking at pictures of the suit, I think this is the main issue it has. It still looks pretty good, all things considered though, and the teeth and the inside of the mouth look pretty nice. And I actually think this figure looks better with the mouth open than the 89 does. Now let's move to the paint, where I think this figure really excels. It's mostly painted a dark charcoal gray, with light brown highlighting all the details. There's also the scar on the chest that is painted red. The fingernails and toenails are painted a light brown, and the dorsal plates are painted dark gray that transitions to lighter gray near the outside of each plate. Moving to the head, the eyes are painted white with a little bit of brown and black, and there's also some black paint going around each eye. Inside his mouth, you'll find white painted teeth and a red tongue and gums. There's also a tiny little bit of gray paint in there as well. Now let's take a look at the articulation. The mouth can be opened and the head moves as well, though it doesn't have the widest range due to the nature of the neck on this thing, which is pretty stiff. You can also move the torso a decent amount, and in fact it can be turned all the way around. Moving to the arms, they have a good amount of movability as well, as a result of that shoulder and neck design. Also, like the 89, you can move its fingers. On the legs, there's a joint at the thigh, knee, and foot. The tail features a bunch of ball joints like the 89, and as a result, it can be moved into many different positions. It's worth noting that on the very last segment of this tail, there's a bendy wire, so be careful not to break it. Before I give my rating for this figure, here's a comparison with other figures. Here it is with the NECA Godzilla 1984, which I somehow forgot existed in my last video. Here it is with the NECA Godzilla 1989. Here it is with the NECA Godzilla 1962. Here it is with the NECA Godzilla 1964. And finally, here it is with the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2002. For a rating out of 10, I give this one an 8. The sculpt has some awesome detail, and for the most part captures the look of the 2003 Godzilla. The only downside is the head sculpt, which just looks a little bit off to me. There's also the weird neck and shoulder section, but that does blend in okay. The paint job is solid, a definite highlight of this figure. It also has some pretty good articulation, especially the tail. Between the two new releases, I prefer the 89, but this one is good as well. I recommend it. And that does it for the NECA Godzilla 2003. Here's a quick look at all my NECA Godzilla figures, which is almost the complete set. I'm just missing the poster version for the 2019 Mothra. As many of you already know, NECA no longer will be producing Godzilla figures for the foreseeable future, which is a shame because I feel like they are really starting to find their groove. The improvements in the sculpts and awesome boxes have been great. I really hope they get the license again someday. We'll just have to wait and see after Godzilla vs. Kong. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.